Lidea, welcome to the New Health Conversation. My name is Peter Greenlaw. I've been a nutritional researcher for 22 years. I know all of you are skeptical when you see that headline, drop a dress size in just 7 days, no exercise required. Well, imagine losing up to 4 pounds per week and boosting your lean muscle by 6 to 9%, all without ever going inside of a gym. I know it sounds crazy to all of you, but most women really do lose a whole dress size in just 7 days with no exercise. This is not a diet. It's like nothing anyone has ever seen before. It has nothing to do with counting calories. It's, as a matter of fact, there are 10 peer-reviewed human trial studies that you all can see. We put the website up there where you can go for free to see the medical proof. There's no gimmicks or tricks here. This is all based on science. For the first time ever, after 38 years, the top weight loss nutrition physiologists in the world, they developed this. It was a theory at first. And here's what's neat. The scientists who created this, they don't sell anything. They don't have any products. They just created a protocol that is, well, it's pretty much made every single, hello, Joanne. It's made every single diet out there obsolete. Joanne, imagine losing a dress size in 7 days, losing as much weight. Well, losing about 4 pounds a week on average with no exercise. That's about what they saw. In the first month, men and women lost 16 pounds with no exercise, gained 6 to 9% lean muscle, and lost no water weight at all. Hello, Maisie Me. What we're talking about is how you could lose a whole dress size in 7 days without any exercise. Men lost up to 4 inches off their waist in a week. Hi, Shira. This is real. You can absolutely lose a whole dress size in 7 days with no exercise. You can lose as much weight in a month as a year on any diet. You lose no water and gain 6 to 9% lean muscle mass. So for all of you, I hope that you will take some time to listen to this podcast. This is a podcast. It's not an infomercial. And you'll see down at the bottom, the New Health Conversation. It's a free medical website where you can go and see 10 peer-reviewed human trial studies that absolutely have made every kind of diet obsolete. Counting calories is out the window. Anybody counting calories, I am sad to say that the new medical proof is that counting calories has never been proven to keep weight off long term, and up to 2/3 of people who go on a diet lowering calories gain back more weight than they lost. So why would you go on a diet? Because someone told you that the only way to lose weight was to lower calories. That's been completely debunked. These new studies are going to change the world. I know that sounds crazy. We're the only people on all of social media with medical, peer-reviewed human trial studies, not scientific papers, not people's opinions, period. We blow away we don't, but the researchers, what they created blows away any diet you've ever heard of before. Because the problem with diets is that people don't ever tell you. It's not about the calories, because the human body doesn't even know what a calorie is. It's about nutrition. And when you go on a diet, what you're doing is reducing, I don't care what the diet name is, but you're reducing the amount of food you're consuming. At the same time, you didn't maybe think about this, you're reducing the nutrition. And when the body senses, the brain in particular, there's not enough fuel, it'll slow down your metabolism. That's why you plateau on diets. That's why you come off these diets and you gain everything back. Now, with your best efforts, you're going against your own human physiology. You're going against your own instinct in our body for survival. When the body doesn't have enough nutrition, it thinks it's starving to death. It stops burning fat and goes after muscle. That's just how the body works. I mean, you don't have to believe it. And you may be on a diet, and some of you can say, I lost 20 pounds, 30 pounds, 40, 50, whatever it is. You're going to gain it all back, not my opinion, based on the medical science. We've even got people like Harvard Medical School now saying, stop counting calories. I have the study right here. Let me read it. This is Harvard Medical School, so it's not my opinion, right? Stop counting calories. Most people have been taught that losing weight is a matter of simple math. Cut calories specifically 3,500 and you lose a pound. But as it turns out, experts are learning that this decades-old strategy is actually totally misguided. This idea of a calorie in, calorie out when it comes to weight loss is not only antiquated, it's just wrong, says Fatima Stanford, obesity specialist, Harvard Medical School. This is Harvard Medical School. She goes on to say, drop the calories notion and concentrate what's in your food, not how much food you're consuming. Okay, another big study that's even more sort of damning, why you shouldn't count calories. Truth is, calorie counting is a terrible approach for weight loss. While counting calories and restricting calories can help you lose weight in the short term, the approach has never been proven to keep weight off long term. What's even worse is 2/3 of people who try to count and restrict calories gain back more weight than they lost. Again, why are you listening to these influencers telling you to lower calories is the only way to lose weight? It's nonsense. It's obsolete. These new studies. I'm telling you, every diet you've ever heard of, it's now obsolete. If you go to the website and look at that free medical proof, you're going to come away from there going, oh my gosh. And if you do go to the website, we won't contact you. Let's be clear. We don't do that. We show you all the medical evidence up front. You don't have to buy anything. There's no obligation. You go and look at the medical proof. If you like what you see, scroll down and you can set up a free, and I mean free, consultation with one of our coaches. The coaches have done the protocol, been trained to answer all your questions. It's 100% free. Men and women in these studies who weren't allowed to exercise lost as much weight in 7 days as 8 weeks of any diet you've ever been on. They lost as much weight in 30 days as a year on diets. And these big medical studies, which take a long time, cost a lot of money, they were started like 6 years ago. These people in the studies have kept the weight off now for 6 years. In my case, I lost 40 pounds in 7 weeks. 22 years ago, I've kept it off for 22 years. That's what you should be interested in. So before you click off and go and look and find another way to lose weight, none of them are going to work. We have 80% of America overweight, 50% obese, 50% pre-diabetic. Does anybody really think that diets work, okay? So the point is that you have an incredible opportunity for free to go to the website. You'll see it right there, the New Health Conversation. And you can get rid of any diet you've ever been on, because the problem is that if you think that you're going to go on a diet and lose weight, you will. You'll lose weight on any diet out there. But don't you think if 80% of America's overweight, 50% obese, 50% pre-diabetic, we have more diets than ever? Honestly, do you think what you're doing, torturing yourself, which is what a diet is, it's all based on deprivation. Do you know in these studies, the men and women in the first 30 days, their hunger came down 41% in 30 days. They lowered blood pressure, blood sugar, cholesterol, triglycerides in 30 days. They lowered inflammation for the first time ever. In case you didn't know, inflammation is the underlying cause of every disease out there. They lowered it by 25% in 30 days. No one was allowed to exercise. I understand any of you that want to switch off. It's because you're skeptical. Oh, this can't be real. There's got to be a catch. Where's the other shoe? There's no other shoe. This is the only, you won't see anybody else on social media showing you peer-reviewed human trial medical studies. It's the highest you can go in medical evaluation. No drug gets approved without a peer-reviewed human trial study. I saw an ad this morning and, oh, it's scientifically proven. That doesn't mean a damn thing. An ad on TV for some new thing. It's nonsense. If what you have is that good, you want to have a peer-reviewed human trial study. Why? Because it's done on human beings and it's been reviewed not by the people. For example, the big medical journals that publish these studies, they don't evaluate them. They send them out to other world-class experts, medical doctors, and researchers who have one job, and that's to disprove what you're claiming. That's why you should be interested. For your own sake. It's not going to change my life whether you go to the website or not, but it might change yours. I know it sounds too good to be true. That's what I fight on every one of these live podcasts that I do. Because we're so brainwashed. Do you know in the 60s, you know how many people were overweight and obese in this country? About 5%. This year, it's 80% overweight, 50% obese, 50% pre-diabetic, 50% of our kids are overweight, and a third of those are pre-diabetic or diabetic. What are we doing? We're watching the slick presentations, and they're writing on whiteboards, and they've got fancy credentials with all due respect. Well, I've been a nutritional researcher for 22 years. I've written 4 best-selling books. I did 20 shows on PBS. I've done 1,500 lectures all over the world in medical hospitals and universities. I even went to China. Do you know for 20 of my 22 years of research, it meant 0 in the medical world? Until these peer-reviewed human trial studies came out, and now doctor after doctor after doctor is jumping on board. The biggest thing holding anybody back is the skepticism being created by the reality you've gone on a diet, you've lost the weight, and you've gained it all back. So you think it was you or it was the wrong diet. I did paleo. Well, that worked for a while, and then I gained it. Okay, then I went to keto, and the same thing happened. Diets do not work. Do you get it? They don't. They don't. They don't. Like they said in this big study, while counting calories and restricting calories can help you lose weight in the short term, the approach has never been proven to keep weight off long term. Why are you going on diets? Because it was your only option before this podcast today. And yet you can go to that website 100% for free, 100% for free, and you can see the medical proof if you want to, okay? So the point is that we need a different approach. We need something completely different than anything we've ever seen before. And that's what these researchers did. So who created this? What did they do? I know that's a question probably all of you have. Here's what they did. They are the top weight loss researchers in the world. They had done 38 years, over 100 studies, thousands of people. And what they concluded was every time every person lost weight, but when they did the analysis of blood, stool, urine, fat, and mostly muscle analysis, they saw that the weight people were losing, it didn't matter what your diet was 40% lean muscle. And every person in every study, every time, gained back all their weight. So why do we continue to define the definition of insanity? I'd love for anybody to put in the chat, name a diet you think works. They don't work. This is not a diet. As a matter of fact, in the studies, in one of the studies where was published in the Obesity Journal, one group of people did this new theoretical approach that these researchers invented. The other one did the Mediterranean diet. The Mediterranean diet has been voted the #1 diet 7 years in a row by U.S. News and World Report. The people in this new protocol consumed more food than those on the Mediterranean diet. On the Mediterranean diet, it took people 8 months to lose 10.2 pounds, and up to 40% of what they lost was lean muscle mass. The people in these studies, men and women with no exercise a lot, they lost 4 pounds a week or 16 pounds in a month, and they've kept it off now for 6 years, lost no water, and gained 6 to 9% lean muscle mass. Again, I would ask you, why would you continue to follow these diets, this diet advice? It's a miserable failure. As a matter of fact, I have another study over here from Johns Hopkins Medical School. Wait till you hear what they said. They said study predicts obesity apocalypse by 2030, where they're saying up to 86% of Americans will be overweight or obese in 5 years. I mean, honestly, what are you doing? And look, I don't want you to believe me. I'm the researcher of the researchers. It's not my research, but we're bringing the research to you, so at least you have an alternative. Because you can go to the website for free. No one's going to call you. No one's going to harass you, period. The only way we'll contact you is if you scroll down and sign up for a free consultation. It's 100% free because this is a little bit complicated. It's not just a diet. Let me explain to you what they did. So after 38 years, over 100 studies, thousands of people, they figured that every diet out there had nothing to do with calories. What it had to do with was an amount of nutrition. Because our body has to have a minimum amount of nutrition to run all of our organs, the brain, the heart, the lungs, the kidneys, etc. When you go on a diet, this is all you're doing. You're lowering the amount of food you're consuming, but at the same time, what are you lowering? The amount of nutrition. When that happens, the brain figures out there's not enough fuel. It panics, it shuts down fat burning, and converts your muscles into fuel, slowing down your metabolism, and also interfering with your own immune system, making it less viable. You think that's a good idea? Well, the researchers knew that. So they said, can we lower the amount of food we give people, but lower the amount of nutrition? So it was a theory. First of all, these research, they don't have a product. They don't have a company. They don't sell anything. It's just the science. So what they did, they devised a grocery list where only 30% of what you would consume would come from sources in North America. Only 30% of what you'd eat in a month. The other 70% came from 5 other food sources that the researchers don't sell to you. We don't sell them to you. You get them from these suppliers that supply these 5 foods to the researchers in the study. And the researchers said what they created with these 5 foods was the world's most perfect meals, nutritionally, okay? So now they had the ingredients, right? They had 30% of the food from the grocery store, proteins, fats, carbs, salads. You have a list that you can follow. And then these other 5 foods. And then they created 2 new ways of consuming food. This is really important. They did something called protein pacing, which had never been done before. What they did is 5 days a week, people had 4 meals a day. Yeah, 4 meals. They started with the world's most perfect meal, those 5 foods that come from around the world. They had lunch from the grocery store list. They had a 3rd meal from the grocery store list and a 4th meal at night, the world's most perfect meal. 4 meals a day, 5 days a week. Now, I know it sounds crazy because you're thinking diet, lowering the quantity. No, that has nothing to do with that, okay? Then 2 days a week, they did something called intermittent nutritional fasting. Not fasting, not this time-restricted eating, no, nothing like that. On those days, no food from the grocery store, and they just consumed these 5 foods from around the world, and that was it. And what were the results? In the first 7 days, the researchers were shocked because women lost like a whole dress size, men lost 2 to 4 inches off their waist, and the average weight loss in a week was what had taken in all the studies they'd ever done, about 8 weeks on any diet. Okay, well, they're thinking, well, what's going to happen when they keep going? At a month's time, men and women had lost as much weight in any diet ever analyzed in a year, lost no water weight, and gained 6 to 9% lean muscle mass. And that's the last reason to even do this. Like I mentioned before, they lowered blood pressure, blood sugar, cholesterol, triglycerides in a month. And for the first time in history ever, they lowered inflammation, which is the underlying cause of every disease out there, by 25% in 30 days. They lowered hunger in the first month by 41%. You know what it's like. You're on a diet for 30 days. You want to eat your couch. Can you imagine? These people cut their hunger almost in half. That's why they were so successful. Now, these studies were started about 5 or 6 years ago. They cost a lot of money. They take a long time. And that's why none of these diet protocols have ever sponsored a study on them, whether it's paleo, keto, time-restricted. This time-restricted eating, which is a big buzz now, up until a year ago, all the studies were done on mice and rats. Really? Doesn't sound too good to me. And I'll share with you the results are completely different than what these influencers are telling you. They're giving you opinions. They don't have any facts. Oh, you can lose 20 pounds in a month and most of it's fat. Really? Well, let's go to, let me find it here. This is the Journal of the American Medical Association, a new study that came out. Now, Journal of American Medical Association is one of the biggest medical journals in the world. So the people who promote time-restricted eating and only for 16 hours eat for 8, they didn't commission this study. This was done by the Journal of the American Medical Association, where they said, the new research found that overweight adults who were assigned to routinely fast 16 hours daily, eating their meals between noon and 8, gained almost no benefit from it. And over the course of 3 months, they lost 2 to 3.5 pounds. And most of the weight they shed was not body fat, but lean muscle mass. There's your Achilles. I don't care what diet you're on, you're losing lean muscle. You lose lean muscle, it slows your metabolism down. That's why you gain all the weight back. We have lost our grip. Go to Barnes & Noble, look at how many different diets there are. It's totally insane. I've got a study here that I'm sure doesn't even cover all of them. There's 110 studies in here of some of these crazy diet. People are going on jaw wiring, nibbling diet. I'm just going to read just a couple in here. This is crazy. Obviously, the big ones like Jenny Craig, Weight Watchers, Nutrisystem, Paleo, Keto, they're all in here. How about the F-Plan diet? How about, let's see, how about the Moon diet? How about the Rotation diet? This is insanity, what we're doing. None of it works. You're not going to prove to me it works when you got 80% of America overweight, 50% obese, 50% pre-diabetic. I mean, obviously, you're free to do whatever you want to do. Our job, we're not here to convince you, and we're not here to sell you. We're here to save you. We're here to literally give you hope. We're here to giving you medical proof. We don't give opinions. We're researchers. I don't want you to believe me. Why should you believe me? I'm the researcher of the researchers. But whether it's Lewis or Eric or Spencer, can you imagine losing as much weight in 7 days with no exercise as in 8 weeks of dieting? That's what and these are medical studies, proof. You can go and see the medical studies. You can go and see before and after pictures there. You will swear we photoshopped them. But more importantly, you can see the medical studies in an interview with not me, the number one weight loss nutrition physiologist in the world, who he and his team created this new protocol. They're the top weight loss researchers in the world for 38 years. They don't sell anything. They don't have any products. It was a theory of a new way of the foods we would consume, but in a very specific new way. And look what happened. Look, can you imagine? I lost 40 pounds in 7 weeks, 22 years ago. I've kept it off for 22 years. 22 years. That's the only reason to do this. It's called R2M. You know what it stands for? Race to maintenance. I know it sounds good to be true. I do these, I get the pushback, and then I get the follow-up when people making all these comments telling me, well, the only way to lose weight is calories in, calories out. Nonsense, nonsense, nonsense. I mean, again, I'm going to go back to Harvard Medical School. I'm not making anything up. Harvard Medical School. Stop counting calories. They go right on to say the idea of a calorie in, calorie out when it comes to weight loss is not only antiquated, it's just wrong, says Fatima Stanford, obesity specialist, Harvard Medical School. Drop the calories notion, says Dr. Stanford. It's time for a different approach by concentrating on what's in the food, not how much food we're consuming. So all of you out there with good intentions, I know, well, I eat whole foods and I do organic. Great. 200 studies on organic prove nutritionally it's a little bit better than regular food, but not much. But it's less polluted. That's why I eat organic, not because it has a massive increase in nutrition. That's why the researchers only relied on 30% of the food they gave to people in these new studies from North America. The other 70% came from, and let me be clear, the researchers don't sell you anything. We don't sell you anything. You get to buy the 5 foods that these researchers used in the studies that came from all over the world, from Russia, Mongolia, Tibet, South America, New Zealand. So they had, that was the basis of this. Now, why were those 5 foods so important? Because they represented tremendous amounts of nutrition, not tremendous amounts of quantity. And as the researchers named it, they said those 5 foods make up the world's most perfect meal nutritionally. Whether you know it or not, our food in this country, even with your best intentions, is becoming more and more and more nutritionally almost bankrupt. You know what the food companies are doing? They're putting chemicals in our food, not nutrition. Nutrition is way more expensive. And then the chemicals they use to give you, they addict you to the food, and now you eat more of something, and your body's never satisfied because it's not looking for more calories or more volume, it's looking for more nutrition. I see all these stories. I see the comments on some of these websites where people, they're desperate to lose weight, and they talk about their journey. They lost 50 pounds, and now they've plateaued, and no matter what they do, they can't lose any more weight. Yeah, because if you go on a diet by lowering calories, you already are failing. You're already going to fail. I know the number on the scale will excite you for a while, but you got to understand when you go on a diet by lowering calories, there's a big problem with that. First of all, the human body doesn't even know what a calorie is. Why are you counting calories? And yet you can go to that website. Yes, Eric, that's exactly my point. And Eric, did you also notice the portion sizes were smaller, but somehow you were full? Please put that in the comment. I'm sure that you will agree with that assessment. I mean, Eric, Princess Pam, Melly, look, we're talking about this has made every diet obsolete. If you think you're going to go on a diet and lower calories to lose weight, you will lose some weight, no question. But every study proves that you're going to gain at least 2/3 you're going to gain more weight than you lost by lowering calories, which is stupid. Not stupid. Yeah, it is. Because the human body doesn't even know what a calorie is. Why are you counting calories? Someone told you to. All a calorie is a measurement. It's the amount of heat it takes to raise a gram of water 1 degree Celsius. No, what your body needs is nutrition. And every diet out there is some form of lowering the amount of food you consume, which lowers the amount of nutrition. Did you know what it does? Your brain then goes into panic mode, starvation mode, prevents you from burning fat, and turns to your muscles for fuel. Do you know in these studies, like I said, it was no kidding. Most women lost a whole dress size in 7 days. They lost as much weight, men and women, in a week that took 8 weeks on any diet that's ever been studied. In a month, they lost as much weight as a year on any diet, lost no water, and gained 6 to 9% lean muscle mass, and no one was allowed to exercise. I know it sounds too good to be true. Your only risk is you don't go to that website because you're letting your skepticism, dissuade you. Because let's face it, almost 100% of all the information available to us on social media is all about calories in, calories out, lower calories, workout, 10,000 steps. None of it works long term. So you do paleo and you lost the weight and you gain it all back and say, well, that didn't, now I'm going to do keto. Or I'm going to do this, I don't eat for 16 hours, I eat for 8, time-restricted eating. Nonsense, nonsense, nonsense. I mean, they keep telling you that, you can do this, you don't eat for 16 hours and you eat for 8, and, they're going to give you a recipe, right? Well, let's look at the real medical proof now. This was published in March of 2024, a few months ago, in the Annals of Internal Medicine, where they compared time-restricted eating, where you don't eat for 16 hours, you eat for 8, just from lowering calories. They did a 3-month study. Here were the results. At the end of 3 months, those who did time-restricted eating, having their meals between noon and 8, only lost 4.6 pounds in 3 months, where those on a calorie-restricted diet lost 5.2 pounds in a month. But here was the thing that discredits everything you're hearing online. In looking at time-restricted eating, there was very little difference in weight or an improvement in glucose, suggesting that any effects of time-restricted eating on weight in any prior study were due to reductions in calorie intake, not the timing of when you ate. That's a gimmick. It's just, and you already saw, you're better off just lowering calories, and lowering calories is one of the most destructive things you could ever do to yourself. The other study over here about time-restricted eating was, what they said was that this is from the Journal of the American Medical Association, that those overweight adults assigned to routinely fast 16 hours a day, having their meals between noon and 8, gained almost no benefit from it. And over the course of 3 months, they lost 2 to 3 pounds. And most of the weight they shed was not body fat, but lean muscle mass. That's medical reality. I have no, I can't make up these studies. We're not trying to sell you or convince you. That's up to you. You have the opportunity to go to that website. You can see it there, the New Health Conversation, and look at the medical proof. There's an interview with the #1 weight loss researcher in the world for 38 years. You might want to listen to him when he says they will never recommend a traditional diet to anybody ever again. He said it would be unethical, Peter. Why would we have people take 8 weeks to go on diets? And they've looked at them all, from paleo to, they've done 38 years of research. And he said the problem is that, yes, they'll lose some weight in 8 weeks, but the majority of 40% is lean muscle. And all those people are going to gain back all their weight, which is what they saw for 38 years. They've been seeking the silver bullet for weight loss, health, and obesity, and they found it. But they don't sell anything. They don't have any products. They don't have a company. We don't sell you anything. This is a protocol which is based on 30% of the food from the grocery store and 70% from these foods from around the world, from places like Russia, Mongolia, Manchuria, Tibet, South America, New Zealand. And these foods that they use in the studies, which you can't buy in your grocery store, represent massive amounts of nutrition with not massive amounts of quantity. So now they had the ingredients, but they didn't have the protocol yet. So they created 2 new ways of consuming food. 5 days a week, they had people in the studies have 4 meals a day. Yeah, 4 meals. So they had for breakfast, they had these 5 foods, which the researchers called the world's most perfect meals for breakfast. They had lunch from the grocery store, a third meal from the grocery store, and the last meal of the day, the world's most perfect meal, 5 days a week. 2 days a week, they had them do something called intermittent, watch this, nutritional fasting, not time-restricted eating, not fasting. On those days, no food from the grocery store, only these 5 foods from around the world 4 times a day. And what were the results? Men and women lost as much weight in 7 days as 8 weeks of any diet, lost as much weight in a month as a year on diets, lost no water, weight, and gained 6 to 9% lean muscle mass. I know right now as I tell you that, you're skeptical. I get it. But you have nothing to risk. You can go to the website right there, the New Health Conversation. We're not going to contact you. We don't do that. We feel that the medical proof speaks for itself. And if you like what you see, then and only then, you can scroll down and sign up for a free personal consultation or not. It's up to you. There's no obligation. There's nothing, you're not obliged to do anything. Because on the website, there's nothing to buy there. There's no celebrity endorsements. It's only the medical proof to open your eyes to the fact that traditional diets by calories in, calories out are completely obsolete and they do not work long-term, period. We're not arguing that you can lose weight on any diet, but there's another huge factor that you're not even aware of. And that is this medical syndrome called TDOS. T is for toxicity, the D is for deficiency, the O is for being overweight, and the S is for stress. It's a registered trademark, U.S. Patent Office. I have it, you have it, every person in the world. Here's the reality. We're breathing, we're drinking, we're eating chemicals, whether you know it or not. And what your body's doing is taking that chemical and stuffing it inside your fat cells. That's why people complain to me all the time. It's not how much weight they've gained, but the amount of fat they have, as the body's trying to protect us by stuffing these chemicals inside what's called our visceral fat. That's the fat around your organs. Well, in the studies where they did blood, stool, urine, and fat analysis, it proved that this was assisting our body in removing those chemicals. And in 8 weeks with no exercise, people shrank that visceral fat, the fat around the organs, by 33% in 8 weeks, and no one was allowed to exercise. That's also why women lost a whole dress size in 7 days. Guys lost 2 to 4 inches off their waist in a week. No one exercised. I know that makes you skeptical, but what do you want me to do? Fake it? You can go and see the medical proof on the website. It's right there. There's nothing to make up. There's nothing to see there that is not absolute factual. This whole thing about calories in, calories out is dead. It's not buried yet, but it's dead. And major studies are showing that. I mean, it's just study after study. They're pointing out that this whole notion, here's another one. Here's a study that says why losing weight isn't about cutting calories. Amid all fad diets, calorie restriction continues to be a popular approach to weight loss. It turns out that cutting calories for weight loss is a misguided strategy that leads to the more unintended weight gain over time. Did you know you're going on a diet to gain weight? Does that excite you? Who's telling you that? They're all repeating the same darn thing. They're just changing the name. It's paleo, it's keto, it's Mediterranean, it's Cornish, it's zone, it's lose weight for your blood type, it's Jenny Craig, it's Weight Watchers, it's Noom. Nonsense, nonsense, nonsense. None of them have one shred of medical proof, especially long term. Look, the people in these studies, the studies were started like 6 years ago, the researchers have tracked them. They've kept their weight off now for 6 years. It's called R2M, race to maintenance. And like I said, I've repeated a bunch of times, I know you're skeptical. 100% I know you're skeptical. But the bottom line is that why wouldn't you go and investigate real medical proof? Real medical proof, not opinions. Opinions don't and shouldn't matter to you. What should matter is medical proof. We're in a crisis. I mean, right here, Johns Hopkins Medical School, new study. Study predicts obesity apocalypse. By 2030, in 5 years, 86% of Americans are going to be overweight or obese. They went on to say what's even more troubling. By 2048, we estimate nearly 100% of Americans are going to be overweight or obese. Does that sound like diets are working? What are we doing? We're offering you real hope, real proof, real science, not opinions, not celebrity endorsements. Look, for 20 years, out of my 22 years, I'm a nutritional researcher. I've written 4 books, 20 shows on PBS, 1,500 live lectures around the world. For 20 years of my 22, that meant zero in the medical world, zero. No medical doctor would take a look at this. That's all changed. You have an amazing opportunity if you just suspend your skepticism long enough. Just go look at the medical proof. If you like what you see, then sign up for a free consultation or not. I want you to understand, unlike other people, where you're having to buy something from them and then they'll show you their recipes and then they'll get you coached. No, we show you everything up front. That's too laborious to try to sell you or convince you. The biggest thing is you need to sell or convince yourself that, I'm really worth it and I'm willing to go and at least explore. You can take the simple route. You can do Jenny Craig Weight Watchers, meal plans, whatever. But they don't work, not in the long run. I mean, there's so many people within 6 weeks are going to New Year's resolution. What's the biggest one? Losing weight. So January 2nd, they start. I guarantee you that most of them, big, percentage by February 2nd, have already quit. I mean, who wants to go on a diet to lose a half a pound a week and then you stop the diet? Even if you lose 20, 30, 40 pounds, you gain it all back. What am I not sharing with all of you? What would prevent you, any of you, from going to that website, the New Health Conversation, and seeing the medical proof? Does it make any sense not to do? I don't know. It's up to you. But I will promise you this, there's no one else on social media. And I see medical doctors and chiropractors and dietitians and nutritionists and fitness people and weight loss coaches and health coaches. They're all telling you the same darn thing. The only way to lose weight is to lower calories. That's completely debunked. It's over. It's obsolete. It's finished. You can't possibly tell me that if in the 60s, 5% of America was overweight or obese, and now they're going to say in 2030, it's going to be 86%. Let's call it 90%. That's an 18-time increase, 1,800%, not 18%. Do you see what's happening? Who else is going to share? What else are you going to do? Okay, so let's say you're not on this podcast today. What would you do for yourself? Because it's not just about the weight loss, it's about your health. Because in a month's time, people's blood sugar, blood pressure, cholesterol, triglycerides all came down dramatically in 30 days. Hunger came down 41% in 30 days. And inflammation, which is the underlying cause of every disease out there, for the first time in history, they proved this protocol, they lowered it, inflammation went down 25% in 30 days. Doesn't that sound interesting? So would anybody else, Mike or Princess Pam or anybody, would you like to ask me any questions before I end this podcast? Let me review one more time. How did they do it? The researchers are the top weight loss researchers in the world for 38 years. And they became very frustrated after 38 years, 100 studies, thousands of people. They always got people to lose weight, but the people always gained the weight back. The problem was that a diet is no more than lowering the quantity of food you're consuming. But when you do that, you don't understand you're also lowering the amount of nutrition. When your body senses not enough nutrition, it goes in starvation mode. It prevents you from burning fat and converts your muscles into fuel, slowing down your metabolism. That's why you gain everything back. The researchers knew that. So they said, okay, can we devise a theory? It was a theory at the time. Can we reduce the amount of food people consume but not reduce the nutrition? That was their aim. That was their goal. And they did it by 30% of the food limiting to what you'd buy at the grocery store. You actually get a grocery store list. 70% comes from 5 foods around the world that we don't sell you, the researchers don't sell you. You buy directly from the suppliers who supply these 5 foods to the researchers for their studies. And here's what they did. They created new ways of consuming the food. 5 days a week, people had 4 meals a day. You heard me, 4 meals a day. They started out with these 5 foods, which the researchers call the world's most perfect meals. They had grocery store food for lunch, a 3rd meal from the grocery store, and a 4th meal, the world's most perfect meal. 5 days a week. 2 days a week, they did something called intermittent nutritional fasting. Not fasting, not time-restricted eating, nothing like that. And what were the results? In the first 7 days, men and women lost as much weight in 7 days as 8 weeks of any diet these researchers had looked at in 30 years. Most women lost a whole dress size in a week. Guys lost 2 to 4 inches in their waist. In a month, people lost no water weight and gained 6 to 9% lean muscle, despite losing as much weight in a month as a year on any diet. I know it sounds too good to be true. You can go and see the medical proof on that website, the New Health Conversation. It's not a trick. It's not a gimmick. We're not making up anything. This is not an infomercial. This is a live podcast educating you about what's really possible. You can get your heart broken again, go on any diet, start January 2nd if you want to. They are not going to work. That's not an opinion on my part. That's massive amounts now of new studies that are analyzing all these diets because the medical world realized we're in a crisis situation. If we're going to have 86% of America overweight in 5 years, how's the medical system going to deal with it? We have 50% right now this year are pre-diabetic. I mean, honestly, does anybody on this think that diets work? Because they don't. All right, so I'm going to finish this podcast, and I would encourage all of you, I'm going to put it down at the bottom one more time. This is the website where you can go to for free. You can see it there, the New Health Conversation, and take a look at the medical proof for yourself. And if you go there, we won't contact you. I want you to understand that. That's not what we do. We're not here to convince or sell you. And we're not making claims like I see a lot of the, lose 20 pounds in a month and most of it's fat. No, it isn't. No, it isn't. But again, you can believe whatever you want to believe, or you can believe medical science. For the first time ever, 10 peer-reviewed human trial studies prove that there's no new protocol. It's made every diet obsolete. I don't care what the name of any diet you've ever seen. They're completely obsolete. So again, yeah, researcher of researchers, that's a good name for me, Pamela. But I would hope that for your own benefit, you would go to the New Health Conversation and see the medical proof. Okay? All right, everyone, I'm going to sign off, and I wish you nothing but great health, and I really hope you will go to that website for your own benefit. Okay?